Good morning, this is Keloland on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your day.
What role do gun owners play in keeping the public safe? That question has come up more than once following the shooting death of Paul Billion.
Billion was shot and killed in his home on South Duluth Avenue back in August, allegedly by 3 suspects who used a stolen gun. Police say gun owners have a responsibility in locking up their weapons.
It's something that people have to live with, and I would say that's one of the unintended consequences if you happen to leave your gun in an unlocked garage, car, house, whatever it may be, and it ends up stolen.
All 3 suspects remain in custody in the Minnehaha County Jail, charged with first-degree murder. A man accused of murdering 3 people in the town of Scotland has 3 months to make a plea deal with prosecutors. 43-year-old Francis Lang is scheduled to return to court on February 21st. If there's a plea deal, that's the day he'll enter his plea. If there's no deal by that date, prosecutors will need to file documents saying whether they will seek the death penalty, and the court will schedule a jury trial.
In November 2021, Lang's accused of going into a home with a gun and shooting everyone inside, including a child. 3 people died and 2 others were seriously injured. Lang originally pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder.
A 52-year-old man was not hurt following a crash in central Sioux Falls. Our Keloland News crew was able to capture this video of the scene at Famous Dave's on Minnesota Avenue.
A sign in front of the building was damaged when a car hit it early this morning. Firefighters were seen picking up debris. Sioux Falls police tells Keloland News that the cause of the crash was distracted driving. Governor Kristi Noem delivered her 2022 budget address in Pierre yesterday.
Her plan includes 5% increases for education and state workers and plans to replace the state's aging and crowded prisons. 2 of the things a lot of people had their eyes on was Medicaid expansion and eliminating the state grocery sales tax.
Over the last 10 years, Americans typically on average would put into their savings account 7 to 8% of their monthly income on average. During the pandemic, their savings was 20 to 30% per month that they put in to prepare for the future. Right now, they're saving less than 4% because almost every single dollar that they make is going to pay their monthly bills, to buy food, and to pay their gas costs and their bills. They are no longer saving money for college, to buy a new house or a new car. They're just barely getting by. We need to give them relief, and we can do so by giving them a $100 million tax cut by eliminating the sales tax on groceries.
If you would like to read more into Noem's budget address, you can find multiple reports right here on Keloland.com.
Now let's get a check of our forecast with meteorologist Scott Munn. Some snow to start the day in parts of Keloland, Scott.
Yeah, we're watching that snow coming to an end in eastern South Dakota, western Minnesota. As that continues to move to the east, we'll have sunshine, but temperatures will be cold this afternoon. Numbers only making the teens in northeastern Keloland. We'll have 25 degrees in Sioux Falls and Pierre and 34 in Rapid City. More details on the Keloland Live Doppler forecast with Brian coming up.
Thank you, Scott. An SDSU organization is helping students stay warm and fed. Since 2018, Jack's Cupboard has been providing students in need with food and other necessities.
This year, inflation has impacted the student-run organization as they've seen the number of students using the pantry more than double, and they've struggled to keep the shelves stocked.
I think food insecurity is a thing that not a lot of people realize is an issue, especially if they see that students have the money to go to college. They assume that you also have enough money to feed yourself and make sure you're comfortable in being a good student. And that's not always the case.
The pantry is open Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 3:30 to 6:30 in Ben Rifle Hall, but donations can be made at any time. A local nonprofit is looking to make the holidays a little brighter for kids in foster care.
The Closet, a service of the Foster Network in Sioux Falls, is providing gifts to foster families, including 4 or 5 presents per child, but needs to fill 100 Christmas tags by Thursday.
This time of year when kids have big emotions about not being at home, and just this time of year that the foster families can really focus on that and not so much financial and getting gifts and making sure everything's wonderful for them.
If you'd like to fill a tag and help the closet reach its goal, we've provided contact information under this story right here on KELOLAND.com.
A Sioux Falls landmark will get a new pipe organ in the coming years. The current massive instrument at the Cathedral of St. Joseph is about 30 years old, and it needs several repairs. After an international search, a Montreal-based firm has been selected to build the new organ.
They'll literally start with blocks of wood and blocks of metal and fabricate everything.
The organ project is part of a campaign that will also restore the rectory and support an endowment for music and liturgy.
The Salvation Army will be hosting its 13th annual Match Day event this Saturday. For every $20 donated, $80 will be matched by donors to make a $100 donation. The event is expected to raise around $100,000, which will go towards providing food and gifts for families in need.
That's why we need to make our kettle goal and then some, so we can continue these programs and make sure that we don't have any glitches in providing for what we need to provide for the community.
The overall goal for this holiday season is $350,000. So far, only $80,000 has been raised. And that's a look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian?
All right, here's a look at our system for tomorrow. This again coming into the plains as a fairly compact system, but it'll pick up some snow tomorrow afternoon starting on the Nebraska-South Dakota border. There could even be a little bit of rain mixed in initially as this breaks out into Sioux Falls, and then the vast majority of that 2 to 5 inch forecast will occur Thursday evening, overnight Thursday, and then it'll wrap up very early Friday morning. I would expect by 10 o'clock Friday morning. The vast majority of this should be out of our coverage area. Heaviest totals, a couple of things we're watching. Minnesota, northwest Iowa, some 4 to 7 totals. We're also keeping an eye on some of these tracks here farther west. See how much we have to build this back even to pier. Could be a couple of inches of snow. Stay tuned for updates on midday. Here's the low coming out of Kansas, and there's the breakout of that moisture tomorrow. This is a pause point at midday. You can see it's coming right up there to the Nebraska, South Dakota areas there, and then quickly expands to the northeast. And is it very windy? At this point, no. I'm going to say the winds are probably in a tolerable range, 10 to 20. They'll be out of the east for the most part to start with, and then switch around to the north as the system goes by. Now, the weekend, dry, quiet to start. I think that's the setting here. Late Friday afternoon into Saturday, the chances of snow may return to a little bit of Minnesota toward the Twin Cities, but that looks to be pretty light at this point. And then you look ahead to next week. That's when the whole weather story changes. Monday, we've got rain breaking out in Nebraska and Iowa. One of the considerations that we have on this storm, assuming that our snow forecast is correct for the southeastern part of KELOLAND for tomorrow, we've got 2 to 5 inches of new snow, and then we're trying to bring up some south winds and some rain over the top of that. Kind of sounds messy, doesn't it? And certainly with storm tracks and things like that, there's a lot that we're going to have to start unpacking in the days ahead. The biggest thing I can tell you is this is a major storm. This is not some little low pressure area coming out of the Rockies. This thing on the onset has looked stronger and stronger. Today, certainly it is every bit of what it was yesterday, but the position of this will determine who gets what. There's likely going to be some very hefty snows to the north and west of the track. The other thing we think will be interesting to watch, the track of the storm comes up into Nebraska, but may end up stalling for a period of at least a couple of days next week. And the longer we draw this thing out, then that naturally leads to higher snowfall and rainfall potential, probably the likes of which we haven't seen for a long time. I mean, you have to go back, and it's not even on the calendar this past year anyway, to have a low like that. So if you're looking for some water, and many of you in the drought cycles, you just wouldn't expect it to be in December to pick up a significant amount of rain and precipitation and snow. All those things will be affecting the upper Midwest and northern plains. So for today's forecast, we'll end with this. There's your first system Thursday afternoon into early Friday. I think we'll clear the decks on that one pretty quickly. Then a break. Then Monday, Tuesday, it's rain, snow, and stay tuned weather. Aberdeen, also in that same category. We're going to see those temperatures ahead of all of that. Not bad. 30s, pretty likely. And I would even hesitate at this point to call anything too cold, at least through day 7. Behind this storm, presuming everything comes together, then the Arctic air probably gets a green light to go. But that's a story for another day as well. So stay with us online and on air as we unpack the details of this widespread storm system next week. Find out more information online at KELOLAND.com.